He lied to me, the reptilian female cried out as her friends all around her tried to console her. Even her sisters there were trying to keep her standing as her legs were getting very shaky. Her tail was already slumped onto the ground, and in her clawed hand was a message and a set of metal ingots held together by a chain. She screamed and cursed as others tried to support her as she got all her grief out. She continued to scream over and over again, "He lied! Why would he lie to me?" She screamed it to the heavens, to the floor, in everybody's faces. She couldn't stop, her grief overwhelming as tears just flowed down her scales. That's when she heard a male voice come through. "That's what they do. You'll find out why soon enough." Everyone seemed to stop and look as several different species simply stood there in the front doorway. Everybody could see that they were all in uniform, and some still even had the regeneration devices still attached to their side, whether it be to a limb, to a digit, to their face, but all of them seemed to need it. It was odd to see so many just suddenly seem to appear there, and even more strange is that they were all wearing the human style of military uniform. The look of each of them was stoic, but the eyes betrayed something. Sorrow. The female reptilian finally got back to her feet on somewhat steady legs, and while still holding the metal ingots and the chains, she walked over to the first one and began to beat her clawed fists against his chest. The furry mammalian looked down to her and just absorbed the impacts, just standing there, realizing what she was doing. She had to get this out. She had to get through the stages. Eventually, she stopped and she simply began to cry, leaning against him. She continued to whisper, "He lied. He lied," saying it over and over and over again. As the tall mammalian placed a very large paw on her head to try and comfort her, another one spoke. This one, a 4.5-foot tall salamander-type biped, said, "He lied to us all, but he did it to save us all." Hearing this, the female slowed down her tears as though the words took a minute to register. She leaned back, wiped the sides of her face, and said, "What do you mean? I don't understand." The salamander continued, "When we were pinned down by enemy artillery, he stood up and told us, 'This is just a little rain.' As piles of mud exploded all around us, he told us, 'It's nothing we can't handle.' And then he had us rush forward. We lost a few, of course. As we pushed towards the enemy lines, we were so frightened but he showed no fear. Not only that, he screamed and yelled at the enemy cannons, claiming that they couldn't strike excrement, and he just kept going. Had he not lied about the cannons, had he not lied about the amount coming down, well, we would have ignored everything, and we would have just stayed there on the field, and we would have been destroyed with all the rest, but he made us ignore the danger by lying." Another one began to speak up, one that looked like a lion, mane and all, but only stood about the same height as the female. "When this happened," pointing to the regeneration device on his face, "I thought I would perish in that moment. He picked me up and carried me to safety. He kept me awake with the threat of shoving his fist into my sphincter if I passed out, as that would definitely wake me up. Or how he would take my mate as his own. I knew he wouldn't, of course, but he lied to make me angry, and the anger kept me alive until we got back. When we got back, he simply smiled and then left." An avian species spoke up next. "He lied to me, saying how I wouldn't be able to protect the squad until I could shoot the dick off a fly at about 300 to 500 meters. This is an obvious lie, of course, cannot be done, but he used that same lie to train me to the point that I could outshoot that dang left-testicle sniper, showing a bandaged wing. That lie made me able to protect everyone here. Everyone. I was able to take the sniper out before he took any more of them. Even me. The large mammalian, still caressing her head, spoke up. Yet, I heard the last lie. The reptilian female suddenly realized what was going on. This could have been her mate's final words. She looked up with wide eyes and asked, What was it? She gripped onto the uniform so tight that he almost flinched from the amount of fur she was actually pulling out of his chest. He took a deep breath and said, I'll be right behind you. The female looked confused. She looked at the others and they just seemed to nod. She then turned back to the mammalian and just kind of turned her head, not realizing what was going on. The large mammalian, realizing that she had no idea, of course, he took another deep breath and said, We had gotten in deep as the shock troopers on our flanks had turned out to be far more show than go, and we had relied on them to cover us. We needed to withdraw at that point, but the left testicle were actually coming in too fast. He grabbed the heavy repeaters and told us to run as fast as we could. When we asked him about what he would do, he simply said, I'll be right behind you. As we all withdrew as fast as we could hear him scream and curse and spit at them as the heavy repeaters tore through their ammunition pouches. As we reached the lines, I swear we could hear him laughing, a strange, disturbing laugh that we've heard from other humans before. This would be sort of a lie. It seems as though they enjoy the slaughter. However, this may come from fear. We don't know. But he was there. The female still had tears coming out of her eyes as he continued. By the time we retook the area, the dog tags were all we found. She wiped her eyes and said, So he lied to protect you all? I just question if he deliberately lied. If he deliberately lied to you and to me. No, he didn't. A voice boomed out from behind the crowd. Everyone spun around to see the human being aided by two other humans. His body, a patchwork of regeneration plates. They have to help him because he's currently unable to walk on his own as both legs are severely damaged. I told you all I'd be right behind you. Now, did I lie? As he spoke, he was still aided forward, and as everybody was in a bit of shock, the reptilian female, in shock at what she actually saw, pushed through all of them and walked towards him on shaking legs. She didn't realize what was going on. She couldn't understand it. She got to him and immediately grabbed a hold of him and squeezed him tight, groaning a little. He goes, sorry I'm late. The avian asked, How? How is this possible? The human simply turned up a little bit and said, I'll tell you all later. He turned to his wife and said, I didn't lie. There's nothing in this universe that would stop me from coming back to you. Well, most of me anyway. He said this motioning to all the regeneration patches still on him. He then looks to his men and says, What the hell y'all standing around here for? Somebody get me a beer! Hello everybody, this is Syntax. Thank you so much for joining me today on this short story. Before I go, I need to send out some special thank yous to a few of my supporters, and those will be MTF Guard, Erica Gem, Douglas Scarborough, Guardian Sage, SS Demon, Brian Kemp, and Prozac and Pancakes. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, punching out.